What's up, boys? What's up, girls? You know who I am. This is the first part of the promise video, which is about the workman's compensation process here in Pennsylvania. If you have any follow-up questions, please inbox me, let me know, because if you have questions, I have answers. All right, I was injured on 10/19/2015 while restraining a patient at my job. And the first part, what you really want to do is what's important is you want to notify your supervisor. That's important. It's important because you want it to be on record that an injury occurred so that it's compensable, so that it's paid for, so that it's covered, and so that they're on notice that you were injured at the job. Now, the second thing to do is write it out. Write a report, write it on a piece of paper, write some type of incident report so that there is a physical worded copy of your understanding and of your report or record of how the injury took place. Just by telling someone isn't important because they can say, oh, she just said she slipped. She just said she hurts her back is painful. Oh, she just said she's sore. No, you want it recorded, how the injury took place, when it took place, what your signs and symptoms were very subsequent to the injury. Two, the second thing is you can either treat with their doctor. So what will happen is they should have a panel of like 6 doctors. They're required to have up to 6 doctors that you can choose from. So if they have a list or a panel of doctors, you must treat with them for the first 90 days. However, if they do not have a list of doctors posted in a general area where all employees can see, you can treat with whomever you choose to treat with. You will need some information to take to the doctors, like your date of injury, your signs and symptoms, your claim number. So your employer should give you a claim number. And what is a claim number? A claim number is a number relevant to the record of the injury. So when they call the insurance company, they'll say, hey, this is the claim number, so that any bills or any inquiries pertaining to that injury will be referred to the insurance company that'll be paid for. All right. Another thing to note, if you don't treat with their panel, that panel that they may have, their bills probably won't be paid for. And that's important because those bills get pretty hefty. So you want those bills paid for. So when you go see the doctor, they'll ask you for all this information. So make sure you have that when you go. The next thing is when you go to the doctor, make sure that you document really well everything that's going on with you. Doesn't matter if it's your pinky toe, doesn't matter if it's soreness, swelling, pain, lightheaded, dizzy, nausea, whatever it be, because that initial record of what took place will be what they're basing things off of. So let's say this happened on a Tuesday. You can't go back on Thursday and say, okay, well now it's XYZ PER. No. So you'll want to have all that information when you go, and you want to make sure again that you document all of your injuries, all of your complaints at that very first appointment. That is important. The next thing is, and it's really something I hold dear to my heart, is you want to let your job know, so that, let's say again, if this happened on a Tuesday or Wednesday, the very next day that you're required to work, or the very next day that you get an opportunity. So let's say you were sore or injured the next day, give them a call. Hey, I just want to let you know I did go to the doctor. I did go where you required me to go. These are the injuries and complaints. This is what they told me. So you want to get a note at that first appointment. Whether it's say light duty, whether it's say you can fully go back to work, whether it's say stay home and rest, whether it's say take that day off and go home and rest, you want to make sure that you let them know right away. Because in Pennsylvania, the first 7 days of an injury are not paid for. So it's kind of complicated. So let's say you stayed home for first 7 days, but you went back to work that 8th day, you won't get paid for those 7 days. However, if you stay home for 30 days, of course, the first 7 days and every day thereafter is paid for. So that's a key. If you're only out for less than 7 days, you won't get paid for any of that time. It's basically just like, oh, well, You got hurt, you got hurt. We'll see when you get back. But again, if you stay out longer than 7 days, then those first 7 days are covered and will be paid for by the insurance company. Next, you want to get a good lawyer. It is imperative that you get a lawyer. They're not actually paid until they get you some type of award. So let's say some type of settlement, or let's say if they try to stop your checks and they prevent that from happening, then they'll start to get paid 20% of your paycheck. Or if they decline your case and they get you to get started being paid, then they'll get 20% of your paycheck. But if you just use them to make sure that things are going well, that you're getting all that you require, that they're following the law, then there is no payment up front, but they will get 20% of a settlement if you happen to get one down the line. So that's important to get a lawyer, because you want to make sure somebody's on your side, somebody's advocating for you, and especially if you're going to doctors that were not yours. So let's say you got one from the panel list or somewhere where they told you to go, let's say Concentra or some type of urgent care place. You want to make sure that that place is doing all they should be doing, that they're advocating for you as a patient. So you want to make sure you got a lawyer on board right away to make sure that things are on the up and up. Now, you're only entitled to 66 1/3 of your pre-taxes paycheck. And it's consistent with the last 3 quarters. So let's say you're part-time. Let's say you only do 15, 20 hours a week, but you've been doing 40 hours a week for the last 6-9 months. They're going to take that 66 1/3 off of all that time that you had been working, all those additional hours, any overtime you do, any extra hours you do if you're staying late, if you're coming in days you're off, all that stuff counts towards that 66 1/3 pre-tax payment. So you could be getting a nice amount of pay, up to, I think it's like $1,080 or $1,080. That's the max. So you'll get a pre-tax check so that you'll be able to have something to live off of. And again, it's 66 1/3%. So think about that as well. You're required to be paid on the same type of frequency that you were being paid while you were at work. For instance, if you were getting paid weekly, the insurance company is legally required to pay you weekly. If you were getting paid bi-weekly or monthly, you're required to be paid on that scale. Now, if you're being paid bi-weekly or monthly, some insurance companies do give you a check once a week, which is what they're doing with me. Some insurance companies give you a check every 2 weeks. But again, if you were getting a check every week, you'll get that. If it was every 2 weeks, they may still give you a check every week if that's the way they work, or they'll give you a check every 2 weeks if that's the way they work. I'm going to stop the tape right there. This is just part 1, just kind of exposing you to the Pennsylvania workman's compensation process. If you have any questions or concerns, inbox me, and I will be posting part 2 in just a little bit. Thank you.